Hey, what's up y'all? Set 12 has now been fully revealed and PvE is set to come out very soon, so in this video I'm going to cover every single new trait with all of their breakpoints and details. In the next videos after, I'll be covering all unit abilities, all charms, and all augments, so stay tuned. Buckle in and let's get started. Starting off with Arcana. Arcana lets you select a buff for your entire team based on the Arcana champion you pick. You pick the bonus through grabbing the Arcana selector off your item bench and placing it on the Arcana with the bonus you want, similar to Mecha Prime from set 8. Note that unlike Fated from the last set, the selected Arcana unit doesn't get extra powerful, as the buff is for the entire team, not just Arcanas or the selected unit. So the first bonus you can choose is 2-cost Ahri, who gives your team flat ability power, plus more based on how many unique 3-star champions are on your board. So this is a good option for AP reroll comps, as there are a lot of low-cost AP carries this set. You only need 2 Arcana to activate the first tier of the bonus, and you can use Hecarim or Tahm Kench as frontline for this purpose. If you select the 3-cost Hecarim, your team gains 8% durability, and then an amount of attack damage based on your Arcanas. Durability is just damage reduction, but they're calling it that now to be standardized. His bonus is the Cyber trait, where you don't need to place a full item for the bonus, as single components will work just fine. This bonus will be great for AD carry comps, especially ones with lots of melees and Hecarim's own Multistriker trait, which can turn him into the carry. Next is 4-cost Tahm Kench's bonus, giving everyone max health based on the amount of traits you have active, excluding uniques, which follows the same rules as Jazz and Stand United. This is a super easy splash for tankiness, and works well with Tom's trait Vanguard, which also scales off max health. Finally, the 5-cost Xerath's bonus makes your team's abilities deal bonus true damage, increasing for every 3 charms you've bought this game. If you don't know what charms are yet, you should watch my latest dev drop recap video, but basically there are single-time effects that you can buy from the shop. The bonus true damage is very strong, as we've seen with true damage in the past, so this is going to be great for legendaries or Xerath primary carry. Finally, if you select someone with an Arcana emblem, your whole team will gain damage amplification based on how many separate champions you have with an emblem equipped. The use case for this is going to be some of the crazier augments that give emblems like Trait Tracker and Flexible, and I'll be covering all new augments later this week. Alright, trait number 2 is Chrono. So Chronos gain a flat 15 AP, and then at the start of the fight, they begin a 16-second cooldown. Additionally, anytime a Chrono unit casts, the countdown ticks down 1 extra second. At the end of the countdown, if you have 2 Chronos, your team heals 20% of their health, and Chronos gain 20 more ability power. At 4, additionally, all non-Chrono units are stunned for 2.5 seconds, and Chronos gain more AP, and at 6, Chronos also gain 60% more attack speed, and your entire team heals to full. So if you have 6 Chronos, you'll get the bonuses from 2, 4, and 6. For Chronos, we got 1-cost Jax, 2-cost Zillion, 3-cost Vex, 4-cost Karma, and 5-cost Camille. Dragons. Man, dragons are back. There are 3 dragons, 1-cost Namzi, 2-cost Shyvana, and 5-cost Smolder. With 2 dragons, all dragon attacks and abilities burn for 1% max health, and wound enemies for 5 seconds, also known as anti-heal. At 3, all dragons get upgraded abilities, which we'll cover in the unit video. It's important to note that unlike dragons from set 7, these only take 1 slot in your team, whereas the dragons from set 7 took up 2. Druid. The 3-cost Wukong has no traits except Druid, just like threats in set 8, Monsters Attack. Instead, he has higher stats than usual. Eldritch. When your team loses 20% of their total health, you summon an old god unit which gains health and ability power based on the total star levels of your Eldritch units. This works just like the Cultist trait from set 4. At 3 Eldritch, you summon Daisy the Golem, whose 80 mana ability deals magic damage and stuns in an area for 1.25 seconds. At 5 Eldritch, you summon Malphite the Monolith, who on summon stuns all nearby enemies for 2 seconds, and his 60 mana ability deals AoE magic damage and chains lightning on attacks for the next 4 seconds, dealing more magic damage. At 7 Eldritch, you summon the Beast Volibear, who on arrival stuns nearby enemies and has the chain lightning on his passive instead. His 90 mana ability deals AoE magic damage and gives himself an attack speed buff. Finally, if you manage to get 10 Eldritch, which is plus 3 emblems, you summon the ultimate Stormbringer. This thing is pretty crazy. He instantly summons at the start of the fight, gives himself 3 Radiant AP items, fears anyone he lands on, and his ability is a giant slam on the entire enemy board that knocks up and stuns enemies for a very long time, and then he gives himself Chain Lightning, hitting the entire board. This is the equivalent of Story River 10 wiping the entire board. For 5, 7, and 10 Eldritch, they seem to always summon onto the biggest clump of enemies to get the maximum stun. We've got 7 Eldritch units this set, with 1-cost Ashe and Elise, 2-cost Nyla and Syndra, 3-cost Mordekaiser, 4-cost Nami, and 5-cost Briar. Fairies are an interesting one. First, all fairies gain flat health based on your fairy count. Next, fairies make equipable items. Starting at 2 fairies, you get the Fairy Crown, which gives the holder 25% damage amp after the holder deals damage 12 times in each fight. This can be through abilities or attacks. At 6 fairies, you also get Queen Guard's armor, which gives the holder 30% increased healing and shielding onto it, and also heals for 12% of damage dealt by whoever's holding the crown. The trait breakpoints are at 2, 4, 6, and 9, getting more health for fairies, more damage amp on the crown, unlocking the armor as well at 6, and giving the crown and armor radiant level stats at 9 if you have 2 emblems. Your fairies are 1 cost Lilia and Seraphine, 2 cost Tristana, 3 cost Katarina, 4 cost Callista and Rakan, and 5 cost Milio. Frost gain AP and AD, and the first enemies that die turn into Ice Soldiers with 300 health, which taunt enemies in range to attack them. At 3 Frost, the first enemy converts to a soldier. At 5, you get 2. At 7 Frost, you get 3 soldiers, which also explode on death. And at 9, you get 4 soldiers who explode for double damage. So as you add more Frost in, you get more AP and AD for units, and the soldiers become decent frontliners that also blow melees. You've got 7 total Frosts with 1 cost Twitch and Warwick, 2 cost Zillion, 3 cost Hui and Swain, 4 cost Olaf, and 5 cost Diana. Honeymancy is the premier reroll trait for the set. Honeymancers gain bees that deal magic damage to their target every 3 seconds. Each bee deals 8% of the Honeymancer's damage dealt and 2.5% of their damage taken over the whole fight. Additionally, whenever a Honeymancer dies, they leave 1 bee that follows nearby Honeymancers for the rest of combat. So this is going to be a combat trait that slowly ramps up damage over time during a fight, which is really interesting for a reroll comp. There's going to be some interesting positioning as well, because you're going to want to make sure you put your bees onto your biggest damage as soon as possible, rather than having them be put to waste on lower damage carries or people who aren't taking that much damage to get that damage amp. The breakpoints for this trait are at 3, you're going to get 3 bees per champion. At 5, every champion's going to have 5 bees, and at 7 with 2 emblems. And at 7 with 2 emblems, you're going to have 7 bees, and then 2 bees will move on to the next unit instead of just 1. For Honeymancy, your champions are 1 cost Blitzcrank and Ziggs, 2 cost Kog'Maw and Nunu, and 3 cost Vhagar. Portal. At the start of every combat, portal champions will get a shield that lasts 15 seconds, and then they're all going to work together to summon a big portal on the left side of your screen. The portal is going to throw random stuff out of it. Basically, what it says in the description is that it will throw out things that will help your allies and then disrupt your enemies. It also states that the portal will become 8% stronger for each portal champion star level. I'm not sure what that entails based on stats-wise, whether it's going to be more damage, more slows, faster objects, but we'll have to see in the future, and I'll definitely update you guys as soon as I know. The breakpoints are 3, 6, 8, and 10. At 3 portals, every portal unit is going to get 200 shield, and it's going to summon a small portal, 400 for 6 with a medium portal, 600 for 8 with a large portal, and 10, you'll get 1200 shields with a giga portal. There are 8 total units in the portal trait. Your 1 costs are going to be Jace and Zoe. Your 2 costs are going to be Galio and Kassadin. 3 cost Ezreal. 4 costs are Ryze and Taric. And 5 cost is Norra, which is a champion from Legends of Runeterra and Yumi's owner. Pyro. So first off, Pyro is going to give your entire team 3% attack speed, and then Pyro champions will gain more attack speed and execute enemies when they're under 15% health. Additionally, for every time they kill a champion, Pyro champions will create an Infernal Cinder that you can collect the next round. For every 4 cinders that you stack up, your team will gain 1% more attack speed, and this will be permanent as long as you have that Pyro trait in. Your breakpoints start at 2 with 12% more attack speed for your Pyros, then 3 for 25, 4 for 45%, and then at 5 you'll have 75% more attack speed for your Pyros, and they will also execute under 20% health instead of 15. That will require 1 heal. Your Pyro units are 2 cost Akali, 3 cost Shen, 4 cost Nasus, and 4 cost Varus. Sugarcraft. Similar to Lagoons in set 7, Sugarcrafters are going to build a cake in the bottom right of your screen that will stack up. Also similar to 8-bit. You will gain sugar every time you fight an opponent, and then you'll gain sugar or stacks for each component that your opponent's team has. Sugarcrafters will also gain attack damage and ability power, increased by 10% for each cake layer, or basically each level of stacks that you have. Also, when the cake has reached 7 layers, you will gain treats instead. Currently in the play testing, the 7 layer, which is when you get the loot, is going to happen at 600 sugar, and it seems to come from a differing loot pool, so we'll see that on probably Mortdog's Twitter account pretty soon. The breakpoints for this trait are going to be 2 sugar per item component your opponent has at 2, with 15 AD and AP for every Sugarcrafter, then 4 with 4 sugar and 30 AD and AP, and at 6 Sugarcraft requiring 1 emblem, you'll gain 6 sugar for each component your opponent has, 55 AD and AP on every Sugarcrafter, and your whole team will gain 200 health. For your Sugarcraft units, we've got 1 cost Soraka, 2 cost Rumble, 3 cost Bard and Jinx, and 4 cost Gwen. Rounding out the big trait list, we've got Witchcraft. All Witch's abilities apply a curse to enemies for 4 seconds, and then when a cursed enemy dies, the curse will spread to the nearest enemy. So what the curse does is going to depend on your breakpoints, and they will all stack onto each other. So at 2 Witchcraft, the enemies are going to become smaller and lose 200 of their max health for the rest of the fight. So at 2 Witchcraft, the enemies are going to become smaller and lose 200 of their max health. At 4 Witchcraft, anytime the unit that is cursed takes damage, they will heal the lowest health witch for 15% of that damage taken. At 6 Witchcraft, the target will also take 25% bonus true damage from witches. And at 8 Witchcraft, they will turn into a frog, stunning them for 2 seconds, and then applying all the other effects at an increased 150% rate. So remember that you'll always get the effects of the breakpoint that you have and all the effects of the ones before, even if you don't have 8 in. But 8 will give you the 8 effects and amplify all the other ones as well. And note that the curse will only last for 4 seconds. It's not until the end of the fight. So we've got 6 witches, which means you'll need 2 emblems for that 8 vertical. You have 1 cost Poppy and Zoe, 2 cost Cassiopeia, 3 cost Nico, 4 cost Fiora, and 5 cost Morgana. Speaking of Morgana, let's talk about Morgana's legendary trait, Bat Queen. Whenever Morgana's bats kill an enemy, which come from her ability, they have a 45% chance to abduct a 1-star copy of it. So what this abduction means is that it will actually take a copy of the enemy that it kills and put it onto your bench. So if you kill a 2-star 1-cost unit, right, you're going to get a 1-cost copy of that unit onto your bench. And then you can either play it next turn if you have the slots for it, or sell it, which is usually what you're going to do. So especially in late game fights, this is going to be a good amount of income generation when you're fighting against legendary units. Next, let's talk about Xerath's unique ability. So his unique trait is Ascendant, and he gives you access to Ascendant charms in your shop. This is a bit of a spoiler for the video later this week, but basically these are going to be charms that are a little more expensive, but are also super rare and very, very powerful. If you look through the charms list, all of the ones that are named after tarot cards, which you can find by it saying the blank, right? Those are going to be the Ascendant charms mostly. Those are going to be locked behind having Xerath on your board and having this trait active. Additionally, the odds for hitting an Ascendant charm are going to increase by 10% after every player combat that you haven't hit one, up to 50%. And then when you buy an Ascendant charm, the odds will reset. I'm going to put the Ascendant charms here, but I won't go over them until the video on charms. Ravenous is Briar's unique trait for her legendary units. So Briar will gain 0.6% damage amp for each player health you're missing. So let's say you're at 100 health at the start and now you're down to 50, you're going to gain 30% damage amp. Additionally, every round you'll gain an item called Light Snack, and if you give it to her by dropping it onto her like you would with an item, it'll give her a permanent 150 health, but you will have to pay 3 of your player health to do this. So that missing player health that you paid to give her more HP is going to scale up her damage amp, but you're playing that risky game of losing player health and possible placements. E is going to scale up her damage amp, but you're playing that risky game of losing player health and possible placements. The last unique legendary trait is going to be Best Friends for Norra. Norra summons Yuumi to help your team, and she can be attached to allies by holding her over them. Yuumi will share her ability power with Norra and will die when Norra dies. Yuumi's ability I'll go over in the next video when I do all the units. Bastion. This is a TFT classic. Your team will gain 10 armor and magic resist. Bastions will gain more, and then that value that they gain will double in the first 10 seconds of combat. So at 2 Bastions, the Bastions will gain an additional 15. 4, they'll gain an additional 45. 75, they'll gain an additional 75. And 140, they'll gain an additional 140. And remember that for all of those values, they're doubled for the first 10 seconds of combat. Additionally, in the 8 trait, if you get that vertical with 1 extra emblem, 2 champions starting combat in the back 2 rows will be invulnerable until 4 of your Bastions die. So this will give you full invulnerability on 2 people. It seems to be random of how it picks. So if you frontline your entire team except 2 that you want to keep alive, let's say your backline carries, they won't be immune to damage, but they will not die until 4 of your Bastions in the frontline die. That's a really powerful effect, considering there's going to be a lot of backline access in the set. Your Bastions are 1 cost Lilia and Poppy, 2 cost Nunu, 3 cost Hecarim and Shen, 4 cost Tarek, and 5 cost Diana. Blaster is going to be one of your carry traits for the set. Blasters will gain damage amp, which increases for 3 seconds after casting their ability, another TFT classic. At 2 Blasters, you're going to get 8% damage amp, and then 25% after you use your ability. At 4, it's going to be 15 to 45. And at 6, it's going to be 30, all the way up to 90 after casting your ability. You've got 6 blasters, so you can cap it out without an emblem. Your 2 cost blasters are going to be Rumble and Tristana. 3 costs are going to be Ezreal and Hui. 4 costs will be Varus, and 5 costs will be the Dragon Smolder. Hunter. Hunters gain attack damage, and then once they get a takedown, which is a kill or assist, they will gain more attack damage until the end of combat. At 2 Hunters, you will gain 10 attack damage and then 30% after you get a takedown. At 4, you'll get 20 AD and then 50 AD. And then at 6, you'll get 35 all the way up to 90 after you get your first takedown. You got 5 hunters, so you need 1 emblem for the 6 trait. Your 1 cost hunters are going to be Nomsy and Twitch. 2 costs will be Kog'Maw. 3 costs will be Jinx. And 4 costs will be Olaf. Incantor is one of the AP splash traits, so your entire team will gain 10 AP. And then when your Incantor's attacker casts, all Incantors will gain stacks of AP up to 40. Every other auto attack that Incantors do will contribute 1 stack to the pool, and then every ability cast that they do will contribute 3. At 2 Incantors, you'll get 1 AP per stack, so every time an Incantor casts, your Incantors will gain 3 AP. And at 4 Incantors, that will double to 2 per stack, so you'll get 6 for every ability cast instead of 3. Regardless of how many you have in though, the cap will still stay at 40. That bonus 40 AP will stack with the 10 AP that it gives initially as well. For Incantors, you got 1 cost Ziggs, 2 costs both Cassiopeia and Syndra, and 4 cost Karma. Mages are back as usual. They will cast their abilities twice and instead have modified total AP. So at 3 and 5 mages, they're going to nerf your AP because of that double cast, but you will have 75% AP at 3 and then 90% AP at 5. And then at 7, it'll start to buff you by 5% more AP than you had before. And then at 9, you'll gain 35% AP for all mages. We've got 7 mages out of 9 for that capped trait. 1 cost mages are Seraphine and Soraka. 2 cost is going to be Galio. 3 costs will be Vhagar and Vex. 4 cost is Nami. And 5 cost is Norra. Multistriker. Multistriker's attacks have a chance to trigger 2 extra attacks. At 3, it'll be a 33% chance. At 5, a 50% chance. At 7, it'll be 65% chance to get those 2 extra attacks, and you'll heal 3% max health for every attack you do. And at 9, it'll be a 100% chance to get those extra attacks, and you'll heal 5% max health for every attack. That healing will apply with your Multistriker attacks, so that's going to be super strong. We have 7 out of 9 total Multistrikers, meaning you'll need 2 emblems to get that cap trait. Your 1 cost Multistrikers will be Ashe and Jax. 2 costs will be Akali and Kassadin. Your 3 cost is Hecarim. 4 cost is Callista, and 5 cost is Camille. Preservers. Your team will heal a % of their max health every 3 seconds, and if they have full health, they will restore mana instead. Preservers will also gain double the amount, whether it's health or mana. At 2, every 3 seconds, your team will get 3% health or 3% mana restored. At 3, it's going to be 6 and 6. At 4, it's going to be 9.5% health or 10% mana. And at 5, which you need 1 emblem for, will be 13% health or 15% mana. We got 4 preservers with 2 cost Zillion, 3 cost Bard, 4 cost Rakan, and 5 cost Morgana. Scholar. Scholars will gain bonus mana per auto attack. At 2, you'll gain additional 3 mana. At 4, you'll gain additional 5. And at 6, you'll gain additional 10 mana per attack. 5 total scholars, so you need 1 for that 10 mana. We've got 1 cost Zoe, 2 cost Ahri, 3 cost Bard, 4 cost Rise, and 5 cost Milio. Shapeshifters are also back from set 7. Shapeshifters gain bonus max health, and after their first ability cast, they will triple this effect because they usually transform into some other form. This max health only lasts until the end of the fight. At 2, they'll gain 10, 4, they'll gain 15% max health, 6, they'll gain 22, and at 8, they will gain 32% max health. 7 shapeshifters in total, so you need 1 emblem for that final effect. Your shapeshifters are 1 cost Elise and Jace, 2 cost Shyvana, 3 cost Nico and Swain, 4 cost Nasus, and 5 cost Briar. Vanguards. Vanguards will gain 10% durability, which is damage reduction, while shielded. At both the start of combat and at 50% health, they will gain a shield for a % of their max health for 10 seconds. This and any external shields like Locket or Protector's Vow will trigger that durability. At 2 Vanguards, your shield will be 18% of your max health. At 4, it'll be 30% of the unit's max health, and at 6, it'll be 45, and we have 6 total Vanguards for that 6 trait. Your 1 cost Vanguards are Blitzcrank and Warwick, 2 cost Vanguard is Galio, 2 cost Vanguards are Galio and Rumble, 3 cost is Mordekaiser, and 4 cost is Tahm Kench. Last but not least, we've got Warrior. Warriors will gain Omnivamp, which is lifesteal for both abilities and attacks, and Damage Amp. When Warriors drop below 40% health, they will also double the Damage Amp that they get. At 2 Warriors, you'll have 10% Omnivamp and then 10% to 20 Damage Amp. At 4, it'll be 15% Omnivamp, then 15 to 30 Damage Amp. And at 6, it'll be 20% Omnivamp and 22 to 44 Damage Amp. Your 2 cost Warriors are Akali and Nyla. 3 cost is Katarina. And the 4 costs are Fiora and Gwen. That wraps it up for all the traits in set 12. If you learned or enjoyed, make sure to drop a sub as I'll be releasing videos covering all the new unit abilities, the new charm mechanic, and the cool new augments. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on PvE.